Shabbat Shalom. God is mysterious. I wanted to bring something today that made me feel good. And I love the idea that the Parsha begins with Moses reminding himself and the congregation of Israel that he is 120 years old. We have a lot of birthdays this time of year, so there's a lot of wishing of Ad Mea Ve'esrim, to 120. We wished our dear friend that just yesterday, and a lot in the days to come. Pablo, Susie. It just made me smile to think of Moses standing there declaring his age proudly. Now, he says he can no longer be active, but we're going to be reminded at the end of the Torah that that was far from the case. In his mind, he's slowed down a little bit, but nonetheless, he is 120 years old. So I thought, why don't we make this Shabbat morning a tribute and a celebration of our, quote, older folks? So I did what we do in this day and age, and I went to the internet, and I was intending to discover and be reminded who at this point is considered the oldest person in the world. And guess what I found? Guess what? Guess what? You'll never guess. Do you know what today is? October 1st. Do you know what October 1st is? It is the United Nations declared International Day of Older Persons. I nearly fell over. And it has been since 1991, when October 1st, 1991 was declared International Day of Older Persons. God is mysterious. Every year has had a theme, as it turns out, and the 2022 theme is Resilience of Older Persons in a Changing World. This theme is apparently being celebrated today by the non-governmental organizational committees on aging in New York, Geneva, and Vienna, each with a unique and complementary approach to the overall theme. Remarkable. Genesis chapter 6, verse 3 says, God said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years." At the bookends of the Torah, we are reminded that a human being's lifespan is potentially and limited to 120 years. And what follows in Genesis is the genealogy in Genesis 11, a record of gradual decline in maximum human lifespan from Methuselah's 969 years to Abraham's 175 years, and finally landing on 120 years with Moses. Jean Calment, who was born February 21st, 1875, and passed away August 4th, 1997, is still considered the only human being verified to have lived to 120 years or beyond. No one since 1997 has been proven to have lived beyond 120 years, despite a few people's protestations otherwise. And thus far, science confirms the Genesis account of the maximum lifespan, though, of course, we're working on it. Who knows what might be in the future, but for today. Following in Moses' footsteps, the passing in April of 2022 of Kane Tanaka of Japan at 119 years of age, the current oldest person in the world is Lucille Randon, age 118. She is a French nun, and she is now the oldest living person in the world. They say her secret is likely her piece of chocolate and daily glass of wine. I'm not sure what Moses' secret was, but that is Sister Lucille's patented elixir for life. She does not see anymore, but she is sharp as a tack and describes her days as lovely, delightful. She has wonderful care, of course, and she says they seat her at a little desk every day where she tends to lots of naughty little business items. Her words. I don't know what they are for a 118-year-old nun. Now, we have some of the snappiest older folks anywhere here at Ner Tamid. But if you'd like, after Shabbat, I would be happy to share the United Nations video of some fabulous centenarians who offer perspectives, wisdom, and saucy good fun as part of this international movement to slowly lift the veil of invisibility from older people who have so much to offer. All of the centenarians interviewed on the video are women. Women tend to be the oldest people, and they declare themselves the oldest radical, the oldest nurse, the oldest math teacher, and the oldest track and field runner. She is still running at the age of 100. The world is getting older. Almost 900 million people in the world are older than age 60, and by 2050, that number is projected to be 2 billion people, 22% of what is projected to be the planet's population at that point, hard to imagine, will be that age. They say by 2050, for the first time in human history, there will be more people over the age of 60 than there are children in the world. Longevity is becoming more commonplace. According to the UN this year, life expectancy worldwide, COVID affected it a little bit, of course, rose from age 46 to 68 years from 1950 to 2010. And it is expected to be 81 by the end of this century. Happiness, and apparently a few other things I won't mention in synagogue, increase with old age. According to a recent study, most people are happiest in youth, and then once they reach their 70s and 80s. Most people reported that they were the least happy in middle age. I'll get back to you. Now, no one knows how long they're going to live, but there are some things we can do to help prolong our lifespan. Luck allowing. Following a healthy diet, living an active lifestyle. This is big news. There are also places apparently we should all move to where we're more likely to live longer. They're called the blue zones. As they're referred to, it's Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Ikaria, Greece, and Loma Linda, California. Not totally sure what's going on there, but we're going to find out. The blue zones refer to these 5 areas of the world where longevity rates are longer than the average human lifespan, according to Sarah Schlichter, a registered dietitian who has studied this. People reach age 100 there at 10 times greater rates than in the United States. We are not certain exactly why that is, so just a couple of tips from these supposed blue zones, particularly regarding breakfast. That seems to be the focus of a lot of the dietary research about what people eat for breakfast in the blue zones. Number 1, don't eat after you're full. That seems somewhat obvious, and yet we do it all the time. People in the blue zones are believed to follow the Confucian mantra of stopping eating when they feel 80% full. That's not probably easy to do, but it might be something we'd like to try. Breakfast is supposed to be your largest meal. Not only is it the most important, it is supposed to be the largest. People in the blue zones apparently eat their smallest meal late in the afternoon or early evening, counterintuitive to the way many Americans eat. Breakfast should be as plant-based as possible. Doesn't mean you have to go completely vegan. The world's oldest people tend to eat meat and dairy, though at far lower levels than in the US. They eat meat, but about once a week, sticking to a 3 to 4 ounce serving size. They do encourage eating fish daily. I don't know how the fish feel about that, but nonetheless, very healthy for you. Here's a news flash. Don't eat too much excess sugar. Ooh. The traditional foods in these blue zones don't have added sugar, maybe the honey they add to their tea. And finally, celebrate your food. Don't restrict it. Residents in the world's blue zones follow very healthy diets, not because they're feeling forced to follow a certain diet, but instead they celebrate foods that they eat in moderation. Dietitian Schlichter says, in the blue zones, they don't worry about counting calories or reading food labels. They eat intuitively from the land and listen to their bodies, rather than the external signals of the diet culture around them. So when you're trying to emulate the world's oldest people, use the ingredients that you like, but in moderation. On this day of celebration of older persons, October 1st, just remarkable. Let us pay tribute and express our gratitude to our beloved older folk who have led the way in this wilderness for so long. Let them be vital and vigorous and enjoy length of days, like Moses, to 120. Shana Tova and Shabbat Shalom.